according to Enlightenment, reason will give, rationalism will solve all our problems. Okay? Reason, if we follow reason, it will give us all the answers that we require. On the other hand, they say, the Frankfurt School theorists say that so the reason that they're talking about is not reason as such. It's a reduction of reason. It is not reason as such. They are using reason, but the reason is mathematical reason. It's instrumental reason. It's scientific mathematical reason. It is got nothing to do with reason as such, and they are using it to control the people control people and their minds and their societies, and they are promoting their own agenda. So the first point of departure between modernism and postmodernism is their conception of meaning, the different conception of reason. That according to modernist conception, if you are rationalist, if you are reasonable, if you have the capacity to reason, you are better off. You don't need religion, you don't need God, you don't need anyone else. You will be able to find answers for your own self. But this is the trap. According to postmodernism, this is the trap that what they talk about. When they talk about reason, they are not concerned with reason at all. They are using a specific conception of reason as such, and this is a sleight of hand. This is a sleight of hand. What is a sleight of hand? They're deceiving us. So the first point of departure, that the idea that reason is everything in modernism is refuted in postmodernism, that no, reason is not everything. There are things beyond reason that we cannot have any understanding of it. And if you have any idea of where quantum physics is right now, you will understand the positionality of it. Do you know what is the argument in quantum physics? The argument in quantum physics is that when you observe an electron, it behaves like a particle. When you are not observing it, it behaves like a wave. Before that, these rationalists, they told us that no, it is just a lump of matter, there is nothing else, that's why there is no God. But the postmodern idea, the postmodern philosophy said, no, there is something beyond your reason, your understanding of reason is limited. And this idea was proven by science. There's something else. So the point is that their atheism is broken by postmodernism. And this is where it becomes very interesting, because Muslim philosophers are telling us that you should keep away from postmodernism because it is atheism. And when we read postmodern philosophers, we come to know that no, they are not atheists, they are making a case against atheism. So that I hope you understand the sleight of hand here. Something which is based in religious argument, something which is based in an understanding of God, is given to us as atheism by Muslim philosophers. And they tell us to keep away from postmodernism because it is dangerous for Islam. Who is making them do this? We'll be discussing that later, but remember that they are working at certain universities in the West. So it is the Western conception of postmodernism which is getting promoted in Islam. In my book, the point is when I'm a lone wolf in this thing, I'm making the point that your understanding of postmodernism is flawed. Because if you go deeper into the philosophical, if you think that postmodernism is the legacy of the Frankfurt School, and when you read about the Frankfurt School theorists, when you read their book, like for example, Marcuse's One-Dimensional Man, Ernest Bloch's Avicenna and Aristotelian Left, what is happening there? Eric Fromm's The Sane Society, similarly other dialectic of enlightenment. Their argument is that there is a possibility of God, there is a possibility of religion. For example, Ernest Bloch's argument in Avicenna and Aristotelian Left is that, I hope you know what left is, leftist politics. You must have heard this. It means, in simple terms, it means Marxism. The title of the book is Avicenna and Aristotelian Left. So he is Ernest Bloch, a 20th century German philosopher, a part of the structure of what we call postmodernism later on. He is making the argument that the Western conception of Aristotle is flawed. Western conception of leftist politics is flawed because their understanding of Marx is flawed. And he's correcting them. And his argument is that Avicenna's conception of Aristotle was better because the conception and the modern conception of Aristotle is that he was a materialist and he is used as an opposite, as a foil to Plato. And Marx is an atheist, you know that, huh? But he's given to us as atheist. He is refuting this thing. So postmodernism is refuting what? He's refuting the Aristotelian conception, the conception of matter. And he's using Avicenna to make that correction. In other words, he's using Islamic philosophy to make that connection. So Islam and postmodernism, when Muslim philosophers are telling us that there is no compatibility between Islam and postmodernism, is already flawed. We already know they're problematic. That when we read more about it, we know that they are wrong. I hope you are getting the point. Yes. Yeah? Similarly, the idea is the second point of departure between modernism and postmodernism is that they say that you are just theory. Modernism is just theory. It talks about good things, it talks about humanity, it talks about freedom, it talks about democracy, it talks about human rights, but it does not practice them. And critical theory and postmodernism, they say that we are not just theory, we are practice as well. So this is the second point of departure. And mostly, what is happening in the world which is controlled by modernism, you see theory a lot, but you do not see any practice. Okay, and that's why they have controlled our minds, and we have been made one-dimensional. This is the argument in Herbert Marcuse. I'm talking about the philosophical foundations of postmodernism. Remember this thing. Okay. And they are making this argument that modernism has created a one-dimensional man. How did they create a one-dimensional man? Because they are feeding him lies, they are feeding him things that do not exist, and they are abstract things, nothing concrete. And for this thing to reverse, if you want to save society, postmodernism makes this argument. Frankfurt School is making. If you want to save humanity from extinction, from total annihilation, you need to make a different argument. And the other argument is that postmodernism's reason is flawed, modernism is just a theory, and you need to replace it. If you want to survive, you cannot do it. You cannot live within the structure, modern structure, and change it. No, you need to go out of it, you need to break it free. The same thing we see in Islam. For me, Iqbal is a turning point. So when I talk about Islam, I mean Iqbal's understanding of Islam. I do not mean Tapasvi's understanding of Islam. I hope you know Tapasvi. Who is Tapasvi? Okay. The point: why are they able to sell lies to us as truth? Postmodernism makes us think about this thing. How come they are able to sell lies? Which society is susceptible to lies? And they tell us a society which is raised in a certain structure is susceptible to lies. And you can sell them anything that you want which has got no foundations. Okay? They will accept it. And this is exactly what we see happening around us. So the thing that postmodernism teaches us to come out of this quagmire, this deception, the first thing is you need to have a critical understanding. And critical understanding, according to them, will come from a deeper understanding of theoretical understanding. Only then can you go out and change. In my classes, I always talk about MSc coloniology. MSc coloniology is the idea that if you are trying to change something, you need a map. And right now, the people who are working for change, they do not have a map, because the map is with postmodernism. The map is with critical theory. The map is with Derrida and Foucault. And MSc coloniology, they spent 10 years in KP, for example, in Pakistan, but they did not know what to change. So, you need, the point in postmodernism is that you need critical understanding. And critical understanding will come with theoretical foundations. And theoretical foundations will come with No, it will come with pizzas and burgers and biryanis and all those things. Critical understanding will come with biryani. Especially, somebody told me that Karachi biryani is something very good in that sense. The point is, it will come with books. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So, have you noticed in your society, if you are thinking about it, if you are not one-dimensional, if you are using your mind, if you are open, you are observing things that are happening around you, you will come to know that bookshops are closing down, and fast food chains are opening up to great businesses, and boutiques are opening up to great businesses. So where is this thing happening? In a Muslim society, which begins with Iqra. And we are closing, bookshops are closing down, and restaurants are opening up to great businesses. So this is the understanding that postmodernism is developing in us, to understand the situation, what is happening. I hope you are getting the point. That in order to come out of the trap of modernism, you need postmodernism, and postmodernism is not after modernism, it is anti-modernism. It is refuting the very foundation, the very philosophical foundation of modernism, of enlightenment, because remember, enlightenment gave birth to modernism and liberalism and secularism and atheism and all those other isms, yes? According to them, they were based on flawed understanding of matter, they were based on flawed understanding of man, and they are not conducive to a human environment, they are human evolution. They are destructive of humanity. And the point is that we are told in Pakistan, since we are talking this is our context, we cannot leave our context. In Pakistan, we are given this idea that if we follow West, we will become Malaysia in 50 years, and we'll become Singapore in 100 years, and then we'll become America in 200 years. But the path that they are telling us to follow is capitalism and neoliberalism, okay, and modernism. And postmodern philosophers are telling us that this is the path of destruction, because when they say modern man is one-dimensional, he's not talking about us, he's talking about the people we are following. The structure that we are following, they're talking about them. When they say modern man is not sane, he's insane, he's an automaton. Modern man has lost hope, complete hope, he's hopeless. Modern man is a barbarian. They are not talking about us, they are talking about the structure that we are about to follow, that we are made to follow in Pakistan. And that's where the importance of critical theory and the importance of postmodernism comes into view. Because if you are going to avoid that situation, you need, Islam, Muslim societies need postmodernism, because postmodernism gives us the intellectual tools, the theoretical understanding to sift right from wrong, lies from truth. It helps us install a filter in our mind. Only without that filter, you cannot tell the difference between lie and truth. And this is exactly with the society that we are living in, where society is unable to differentiate between right and wrong. Every lie, every tapaswi is right, huh? And every other thing is wrong. So the importance of postmodernism for us, this is what my book is all about, this argument that I'm making, that Muslim philosophers, there are not just three, there are many others, but they are the major. There are Yazdin Sardar, Akbar Ahmad, and Dr. Tariq Ramdan. They are the major, they're prominent, they have written many books about it. There are many talks on Islam and postmodernism, and all of them are saying that keep away from the postmodernism. And now my argument is that Islam needs postmodernism to come out, because Muslim societies are no longer Muslim. Muslim societies are one-dimensional. Muslim societies, and they are insane, they are barbarian, and in order to make them back into proper human beings, you need critical theory, you need postmodernism, you need a different understanding of reason, a different understanding of human societies. So this is just because I'm not taking you too deeper into the argument, because it's not the forum, but this is where things are. And now we need to know is it true that what postmodernism is telling us that modern man is one dimensional? Is it true?
Yes.
How do you know that? How do we know that modern Muslim man, a modern man is not one dimension? How do we know that? Yes, because it is possible. I'm going to be hurting a bit of your religious feelings, okay? But it is good, okay, to hurt a bit of your religious feelings because I need to make a very important point because this is something we need to understand why postmodernism is important for Islam. And without postmodernism, we cannot have a theoretical understanding of the situation. You must have heard, and we are living in a Muslim society, we've always heard that pizza is flying around. Pizza is walking on water, and pizza is walking on fire, and pizza is doing this, and pizza is doing that. Yes, you have heard that. Yes. Now, postmodernism tells us modernism has done something very bad. It has divided human knowledge into categories, into disciplines. And once you are stuck in one discipline, you cannot make connections with other disciplines. And you are always stuck in the same discipline. We have heard so many stories about our Prophet, okay? Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We have heard so many stories about his companions. They went, like, the most difficult night in the Prophet's life was the night of Hijrah. If these Tapiran, if they can fly, why do we not fly? Are they better than him? A Sahabi, governor of Egypt, he sent a letter to Hazrat Umar Farooq and he asked him that allow me to make a fleet, a naval fleet. And Hazrat Umar consulted, it is said, he consulted his people, his companions, and they told him that it is possible that it will capsize, it will sink. Okay? So what did he do? He denied. Now pizza is walking on water. We're accepting that. Sahaba Ikram are drowning and they are walking. So the point that I'm making is that the modernist education system will keep you one-dimensional. Okay, this is the point in postmodernism. That you need to understand this problematic. And the very first point that they make is that modernist structure of education is disciplinary. And we know, all of you know, you cannot do your MPhil from political science department or philosophy department or any other department. Why? Because it's strictly enforced in Pakistan, in a Pakistani society. The point, the understanding is that we are stuck deep and only Islam can be helped by postmodernism. And there are people who are making making argument against postmodernism and Islam, that they are not compatible, that they are enemies of each other. And my argument in my book is, no, you're wrong. You are reading it from Anglo-Saxon perspective. You have not studied your own, you have no understanding of your postmodernism, you have no understanding of post-colonial philosophers, you have no understanding of Derrida, Foucault, and Lyotard, and Marcuse, and Horkheimer. You have just heard it from somewhere, and they are making they are utilizing. Who is utilizing? You already know that. American empire is utilizing. Because if you become critical thinkers, is it possible for you to be controlled? Is it possible for the structure to control you?
No, sir.
So how do they control you? By making you one-dimensional. By removing the critical faculty, the most important human faculty. What is the difference between an animal and a human being? The ability to think in it, to think independently. But right now we are thinking like we are conformists. Okay, we're living in a conformist society. We're all following everything blindly, and this situation will not be helped if we continue that same path. If we continue to accept their lies as truth, if we do not allow, and postmodernism is allowing us to install a filter in our minds. And if you don't do that, they will continue to take humanity way below the level of humanity. Why would Muslim philosophers do that? This is another interesting point in it. Why would Muslim philosophers do that? What is their take? What is for them in it? What is for them in it? Because yes, they're dollars. They are, and Pakistani society is becoming child and world, huh? Child and world. The whole society. What is happening? I'm trying to expose a contradiction, okay? And this I'm helped by postmodernism. Everybody is trying to become child in the world. In other words, everybody is trying to make money. Yes? And everybody is trying to have enough power. Yes? Money and power, they are the metaphors. In Quran, there are two metaphors. Qarun and Fir'aun are the metaphors for money and power. Were they successful?
No.
How come Muslim society or Islamic Republic of Pakistan is making Qarun and Fir'aun and calls us that I know myself? So postmodernism tells us that it is impossible for modern man to say I know myself because he is or his society is made in lies. It is constructed society. And Islam and postmodernism are combined here because Islam is also telling us that those people who are summun bukmun are those people who are seeing but cannot see, and they hear but they do not hear, are those people who are unable to make the connection. I hope आपको समझ आ रही है postmodernism. So postmodernism, the third point is that postmodernism, remember, it is given to us as a standalone theory, that it is separate from critical theory, it is separate from post-structuralism, it is separate from post-colonialism. No, it is part of a continuum, and that continuum starts in Germany, Frankfurt, and they transferred knowledge, and the three masters of suspicion are exported to French theory, and there Derrida, Michel Foucault, and Jean-François Lyotard, they make use of them. The argument that is given to them by the Frankfurt School, they make use of them, and they give us what we call post-structuralism, what we call postmodernism, and it becomes that thing. So it has a history of thought. समझ आ रही है आप लोगों को? I don't want to take you deeper into the argument because I don't want you to hate it. I want you to love the argument because it's something very important. How much time do I have, Bato? Okay. Yeah. Because I've given you an outline of all these arguments. How is Nietzsche given to us? Nietzsche, atheists. How is Marx given to us? In postmodernism, the Marx of postmodernism and the Nietzsche of postmodernism are not atheists, they are Sufis, they are mystics. So there is again a contradiction between modernism and postmodernism. Modernism, the understanding of Marx and Nietzsche is different from I hope you have studied Nietzsche's Das Book Zarathustra. Most of you have not heard Das Book Zarathustra, but Das Book Zarathustra is about Zarathustra, a Persian sage or Persian prophet or whatever, but he was a very good person. And he, in that book, he uses the term God is dead. That's the phrase he uses, this phrase, God is dead. Yes. And now that thing is used against Nietzsche, okay? And to deride Nietzsche with. Why are they deriding Nietzsche? Why is modernists deriding Nietzsche? Because Nietzsche is against the structure of exploitation that they have put in place. So what have they done? They have made people they have stopped people from reading Nietzsche so that people will not read it, so they will not understand his argument. Okay? And they will continue to be under our protection or under our suzerainty, under our hegemony. Nietzsche, when Zarathustra meets a sage in the jungle or in the woods, he asks him, "What are you doing here in this jungle?" So the sage, Tapasvi says that I'm here because the world has become so full of sin that the world is very corrupt. So I have run away from the world. I have left the world, and I'm praying to my God and I'm trying to establish a connection with my God. So Zarathustra starts walking and he says those kind of words that he does not know that God is dead. He did not say that God is dead. He said that God will teach you that you come here to the jungle and leave man in the struggle. Leave man in oppression, leave man in exploitation, leave man in hegemony, and take your faith and start living in the jungle to run away from the struggle. He says if a God, religion is teaching you, if a God is teaching you, that God is dead. That God is dead. Okay? He did not. So what have they? Modernism has used that same Nietzsche in a very completely different manner. He says that Nietzsche says that he's in ages because he says God is dead. I hope you know the difference between the two things. He does not mean that God is dead. He says that a God which teaches you, a religion which teaches you to run away from the struggle, to leave man exploited, to leave him oppressed, and save your soul. Then your God is dead. Because that is not religion. Religion is to stand there in the middle and work. That's where Iqbal comes in. That's where Iqbal comes in. Iqbal says that मकाम शौक खुदा से मिलना मकाम कुदसियों के बस का नहीं कुदसी वो those people who sit in a secluded place and then they do their prayer मकाम शौक कुदसियों के बस का नहीं उन्हीं का काम है ये जिनके हौसले हैं ज़रा those who are practical, those who are able to go beyond, rise above themselves and work for the humanity, only these people, that kind of people are able to find their God. Only they can be called religious. If you are running away from struggle and you are leaving man in the midst of all these problematics, that is not, you are not religious anymore. Similarly, Marx, we've been told that Marx said that religion is the opium of the people, and we've been told everywhere that Marx is an atheist. Huh? Yes? Marx said that if a religion which teaches man that you are poor because God made you poor, you are poor because God made you poor, then that religion is opium, because you are supposed to teach them that you are not poor because God made you poor. You are supposed to teach them that you are poor because the system made you poor, not because God. So if a religion which teaches man that you are poor because God made you poor, and what now you are very close to God because you are poor, so you are very close to God, huh? And you will go to Jannah 10, 20 years before the rich man. And what do you do? What do you need to do? Sit in the mosque and start, be patient and start praying. That kind of religion is opium of the people. Religion is which teaches man that you are not poor because you were born poor, God made you poor, but you are poor because capitalism made you poor. The system made you poor. If religion is not teaching this thing, it is. So something very good transformed into something very bad and used against Marx to deride him. Why? Because they want us to keep away from Marx and Nietzsche so that the system of exploitation will continue. The system of oppression, of hegemony will continue. Because if you come near Marx and Nietzsche, what would happen? And if you are able to combine them, the system will no longer be there. And they do not want to leave man free. They want to control human society. And it is this thing that they do. For this simple reason, they have made up all these lies. So the same, remember another one interesting, the foundation, the very foundation of postmodernism is in Frankfurt School. And they say Frankfurt School's critical theory is a theoretical foundation of Marx and Nietzsche. It's a theoretical synthesis of Marx and Nietzsche. And the kind of Nietzsche that they have is different from the Nietzsche that modernism has. Okay? Nietzsche and Marx are different in postmodernism and modernism. Both of them have they do not share all these things. Another point that I've raised in my book, I just explained Marx and Nietzsche. You know that except Frankfurt School, someone else made this connection as well. Iqbal made this connection. And Iqbal's Nietzsche is not an atheist, Iqbal and Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi in Jagat Nama, when they go to the heavens, they see near the throne of God, they see a man walking. And Iqbal asks Rumi, who is this person? And Rumi says that he is Mansur Halaj. And pointing towards Rumi, pointing towards Nietzsche, he calls him Mansur Halaj. The similar understanding is in postmodernism, is in Frankfurt School, that he is not an atheist, he is a mystic, he is a Sufi. And Iqbal was already giving him the title of Mansur Halaj. I hope you know who Mansur Halaj is. Huh? One of the greatest Sufis that ever lived. Similarly, he is talking about Marx a lot, Iqbal. So he is combining Marx and Nietzsche, and he calls Marx Karine Beit Jalni. Okay? Nis pe gumbar walekin dar bagal darat kitab. He talks about Marx in these words. And Hakim Imash, he talks about Marx and Nietzsche in a wonderful way. Everywhere, in all his writings, you come across Marx and Nietzsche. The same synthesis is happening in critical theory, in postmodernism, in Frankfurt School, in Derrida, in Michel Foucault. You see these kind of Marx and Nietzsche. They are not atheists, they are Sufis. So again, there is a compatibility between Islam and postmodernism, but Muslim philosophers are telling us that there is no compatibility between postmodernism and Islam. So what my argument is that they are working under certain narrative. They are promoting a certain structure. They are promoting a certain mindset. That structure is capitalist neoliberalism or market liberalism or market capitalism. They are promoting the influence of that structure because they are more interested in their careers rather than in making a proper, valid argument. So when I say Islam and postmodernism and Iqbal as a turning point, I have this thing in my mind, that the conception in the very foundations of postmodernism is Marx and Nietzsche, and there is a bit of Freud as well, but I'll explain later. The psychoanalytic thing I'll explain. So I hope now you know that what I believe and what the reality is and what is getting promoted in the world of Islam, that there is Islam and postmodernism, they are not compatible. This is what they are promoting, Muslim philosophers. And my argument is, when you understand postmodernism, when you read about them, you can see that they are working, they are explaining our Islam to us, they are explaining our Quran to us, they are explaining our Iqbal to us. And without them, we cannot understand. Is it possible for people to make sense of Marx and Nietzsche and Iqbal without having understanding of Marx and Nietzsche and postmodernism? No, because the Nietzsche of Iqbal and the Marx of Iqbal is only understandable when you have an opening in postmodernism, when you know them, how they are treating Marx and Iqbal, what is the things that they are inferring from Marx and Iqbal. Only then can you have an understanding of what has happened in Pakistan since 1947. We've been told these lies again and again that Pakistan is centralist ko azad hua, and we all said, yes, wonderful, yes, we became independent in 1947. The reality is that before 1947, we were controlled by the British. After 1947, we were controlled by the US imperialism. So where is freedom we're talking about? We are in 2023. Is there any freedom? We are still under the structure. So who is promoting this lie that you are a free country, you are a free society? Those who are the hegemons, those who are controlling the structure. This structure will blow out, okay, as soon as you bring Marx and Nietzsche into the equation. The structure will not survive. So what have they done? What have they done? In order to survive the onslaught of Marx and Nietzsche, they have made Marx and Nietzsche atheists, so that Muslim society, they will not go near it, and we will continue to rule them. And they have already controlled us. Since 1947, they are already controlling the education system, because I hope you know, we cannot survive without dollars. HECs cannot survive without dollars. Before HEC, it was University Grants Commission, and we are made into a certain narrative, we are made in a certain way. That's why we are one-dimensional. And I'm going to give you the example of, use the examples of English literature, because you will be able to register those things. You've been told a lot about Milton, John Milton, huh? That he is going to teach the ways of God to man, and he's a very religious person, and he's very this and that. Yes, religiously, huh? And you know that he was more munafiq than tapasvi. He was more munafiq than tapasvi. So how come we were unable to understand this problematic? I'll give you another example. And these examples, by the way, I love these examples because most of you are aware of it. Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice. We look for bride since 1947, and even before that, we were looking for bride, a suitable bride for Bingley and Darcy. And we were looking for feminism in Pride and Prejudice. We were looking for Victorian mannerism. And we were never asked to question where did Bingley and Darcy, where did they bring this wealth from? We were never asked to question this thing. And if you question, what happens? You come to know that they were British Army officers, and it was a recruitment novel, which we are still teaching to our people, but without telling them, without giving them the truth about Bingley and Darcy. Because Bingley and Darcy, उनके बाप के कारखाने तो नहीं थे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में या उसमें अफ्रीका में. What did they do? They exploited. They looted in it. There is a book by William Dalrymple. You must buy that book, The Anarchy. Okay, The Anarchy. And the very first sentence of that book is that the first Hindustani word to English, the first Hindustani word to enter English dictionary was the Hindustani slang for loot. Loot is plundered. Huh? This was the first word that entered English dictionary, the Hindustani word. And we've been told that if you are supposed to follow this pattern, and then you will become, we will be made in a certain structure. Now, one-dimensional, who is telling us to come out of this one-dimensional construction? Postmodernism is making us aware of these things. And is it against Islam in any way?
No.
But how come that we need to ask, how come Muslim philosophers, and they are not common, they are not just any Muslim philosopher, they are at the top level. Dr. Tariq Ramzan is working at University of Oxford. He was the head of Islamic department. Okay? He says this, Muslims should keep away from postmodernism. Iqbal Ahmad, University of Cambridge, 8 years at University of Cambridge, and now he is at the University of Washington. He tells us to keep away from postmodernism, and Islam is going to be very, Islam cannot withstand the onslaught of postmodernism, as if they are both enemies. And we see that postmodernism and Islam are compatible. They are what Muslim philosophers are telling us about postmodernism is complete, total lie. And the same thing is happening in Pakistani society. They are telling us that postmodernism is cognitive nihilism. Postmodernism is extreme kind of one-dimensionality. But this is not truth. This is not the truth. The truth is that postmodernism is that understanding of postmodernism develops this critical understanding in us to be able to differentiate between right and wrong. It helps us install a filter in our minds. And without this filter, we cannot tell the difference between right and wrong. Is it possible for you to tell the difference? Right now, the society is capable. Do you think the society right now that we have is it capable of telling the difference between right and wrong? Why? Because it is one-dimensional. So who made it one-dimensional? We are told, postmodernism tells us that it is the job of the work or the zihni fatur of modernism, enlightenment, new liberalism, secularism, atheism, materialism. It is they who are doing all these things to us. Who is telling us? Postmodernism. So this is my point, that I'm seeing parallel things in Iqbal, and I'm seeing the same thing in Frankfurt School and critical theorists and in postmodern theorists. tourist. For me, they are making this argument. Their argument, Muslim philosophy's argument, is completely total. It's a flawed argument, and they are making this argument because they are following their careers. They are not telling lies to the people. They are there for the sake of money. Or they are plain stupid. Okay, they are either plain stupid or they are doing it for money. Okay, there is no other alternative. I hope आपको समझ आ रही है कि what is postmodernism now? Yes. Postmodernism is the legacy of the Frankfurt School. Okay, and so in order to understand postmodernism, we need to understand the argument of the Frankfurt School. And Frankfurt School is Adorno, Horkheimer, Marcuse, Ernst Bloch, you name them, Walter Benjamin, you name all of Erich Fromm. And what are they saying? That modern man is no longer a human being. He's a barbarian. He's insane. He is automaton. He is hopeless. And he is one-dimensional. So this is, don't we need this kind of ideas? Don't we need this kind of understanding in our society? Yes, we do need it, isn't it? We need to come out of the structure. But we are not allowed to come out of the structure because except you guys, there is no such thing as Frankfurt School in the whole Pakistani system. Their critical theory starts with Gramsci, Antonio Gramsci. And Antonio Gramsci is promoted. Why is he promoted? Because Antonio Gramsci is a leftist. And Antonio Gramsci is not only a leftist, he is a positivist. And positivists are atheists. So he's promoted. When they talk about critical theory in Pakistan, they begin with this understanding, okay? And they only talk about Antonio Gramsci as critical theory. They have no understanding of the Frankfurt School to take on critical theory. It is not simply not available. And remember, Frankfurt School theory, the theorists I gave you the example, they are making an argument for God, they are making an argument for religion, they are deconstructing atheism, they are deconstructing materialism, they are deconstructing the facade that the modernism has created. And that's why it is not allowed in Muslim societies, because after reading postmodernism, you might become independent, you might start thinking, you might come out of their grip, and they do not want. चौधरी आपको कभी भी आजाद नहीं होने देता because you are supposed to be a slave, okay? And this is how Muslim philosophy is working. They are the people follow. Like for example, Urdu literature is following these three polymath understanding of postmodernism, and this is getting promoted throughout Muslim world. If you pick up Egyptian scholars, if you pick up Indonesian scholars or Pakistani scholars, they will always talk about postmodernism as something against Islam, against religion. And when you understand the very foundations of postmodernism, you will come to know that this is nothing but this is utter lie. It is completely, totally lie. It's got nothing to do with reality. They are just keeping us in a certain structure. Okay? And thank you very much, because this is I think